Our guest tonight is WWE superstar Neville. How you doing, man?
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me.
No problem. Look, we're honored to have you on the show. Money in the Bank is Sunday, June 14th from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. You are one of the 7 men in the Money in the Bank ladder match. What is the pressure like for you to perform in this match after only being on the main roster for a few months, and how confident are you that you can walk away victorious?
I don't really feel the pressure too much. I think, nobody expects me to win for the most part, I think. So that, that's certainly something I'm used to. I'm used to exceeding expectations, and I feel like this match is designed very much to suit me, to suit my style. So, I don't really feel too much pressure. I'm just going to go in there, take whatever opportunities throw themselves my way, and hopefully put myself on the map, and you never know. Like I say, anything's possible in a match like that. And, maybe you'll see the man that forgot grabbing that contract at the end of the night. I certainly hope so, but I'm just going to give it my best shot.
Mike Chiari?
A lot of superstars in WWE history have used ladder matches to reach that next level and become top stars. And for you, as a guy who kind of excels in the high-flying, high-risk environment, do you view Money in the Bank as a match in which you can, seize that signature moment and really establish yourself as a big-time player in WWE?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I feel like it's a match that suits me, and with these type of matches, you always remember the winner, but you will also almost remember the guys who put everything on the line and maybe take these risks and do these things to put themselves on the map. So that's whilst I'd love to win, and that's obviously the priority. I realize that in a match like this, there's always other chances to get yourself ahead and make yourself famous. So I'm certainly prepared to go to lengths to do that. So I'm really pumped and really ready for Sunday.
Brandon Galvin?
Are you looking forward to being in a ladder match with 6 other superstars, or do you prefer a 1-versus-1 ladder match like when you wrestled Bo Dallas in NXT last year?
It's hard to say what I prefer. They're so different, and the strategy and the planning for each one is so different. It's hard to plan for a match like this. Honestly, I don't fully know what to expect. I don't really have too much experience with matches like this with the multi-man and also the ladder. So it's hard to say which I prefer, but I know that this match for me, it's perfect and it's a huge opportunity, and it's a chance that I'm really going to try and grab. So it's hard to say which I prefer, but I'm certainly super excited and super ready for Sunday at Money in the Bank.
Well, the jump from NXT to the main roster can be a daunting concept for many stars, but your transition has been seamless, with smaller wrestlers not always finding success in the WWE. Were there any concerns from you for making the jump, and how do you feel the fans and the people backstage are reacting to you now?
I think NXT prepared me for Raw and for SmackDown, more than I could ever have hoped for. I was in NXT for a little over 2 years. So by the time I debuted on Raw, I felt very much ready. But yeah, like I said, NXT prepared me, and there was a level of concern, but I think I was lucky in the sense that I got through in the mix with some of the top guys very early on. I got the chance to wrestle, Seth Rollins and Sheamus, and more recently John Cena. So it was always a concern that maybe I wouldn't get those opportunities, but I was fortunate enough to get them and grab them. So I was really happy with how that turned out and those chances and those opportunities that I got.
Mike Chiari?
Well, you just mentioned not long after your main roster debut, you put on a great match with John Cena for the United States Championship. You really almost came out on top in that match. What did going shot for shot with one of the biggest stars in WWE history mean to you personally, and what do you think it did for your credibility in the eyes of the fans, especially the ones who weren't familiar with what you did down in NXT?
Yeah, that match was huge for me. It was very surreal, to be standing across the ring from John Cena on Monday Night Raw. But I think it really did a lot for me, and it was really an opportunity that I needed. And John's a superstar. He's been the top guy in WWE for years and years and years. So the fact that I had that opportunity and I actually went toe to toe with him, for a little while, I think it did me wonders in the eyes of the universe and in the eyes of the world, and it was a really cool experience and something I learned so much from. It was priceless.
Brendan Galvin?
Shortly after your debut on the main roster, you surprised a young WWE fan on the Meredith show. How rewarding was that experience for you, and what do you consider to be the most rewarding part of being a WWE superstar?
That's the most rewarding. To see how you can inspire and influence these kids is it's really crazy, and it's really the most important thing that we do. I certainly didn't expect the reaction that young Ethan gave me when I went on the Meredith Vieira show. And I was certainly very taken back, and it made me realize how important what we do really is, because that's the most important thing, really, how we reach the universe and how we inspire people in their everyday life. And it's the fact that I'm doing that and I get the chance to do that is it's really the best thing we do.
All right, final round of questions here. With the success of stars like Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, yourself, and many others, there's no denying the influence of independent wrestling on the WWE today. How did working the independent scene before coming to NXT help you prepare for the WWE experience? And what are some of the differences you didn't expect?
Yeah, the landscape is completely changing, and I love it. I love the way things are working out and the opportunities and chances that people that I grew up with are getting. I feel the independent scene is hugely important. It certainly fueled my passion for years, and it certainly, taught me the life lessons that have made me the person I am today. And it paved the path that I was able to follow to be where I am today. Living my dream job every day. So the independent scene is hugely important, and it's the route that I've travelled. And if I had my time again, I'd do the exact same time around. It's really been my career path has been the best I could have hoped for, and that's thanks to independent wrestling and to other territories all across the world.
Mike Chiari?
NXT in WWE, they were initially treated really as very different entities, but now it's always being mentioned on Raw and SmackDown. You have Kevin Owens defending the NXT title on live WWE programming. What do you think that does, not only for the prestige of the NXT title, but also the brand as a whole, to be featured so prominently in WWE and really be presented to an audience that isn't necessarily the same as what NXT's hardcore fan base is?
Yeah, that's hugely important to the NXT brand, but I feel like the NXT brand kind of became its own thing by itself, and this is everything that's happened now is a result of what NXT has become. You watch the NXT shows and you only have to see that to realize the depth of talent down at NXT. It's as good as Raw and SmackDown. So I think that's a testimony to the guys and girls at NXT who do work so hard and put on such a great product that it's become its own brand, and it's now becoming more heavily featured on Raw and on SmackDown. I think it's awesome.
BG?
How did you come up with the Red Arrow, and what type of training or practice goes into doing a move like that in order to have it ready every night?
The Red Arrow took a long time. I wanted a move that was unique to myself. So it's a move I kind of built up with building blocks. So I could do it. I was at a point where I could do a corkscrew moonsault backwards. So I had the idea of doing that forwards in like a shooting star corkscrew. And I was aware that nobody else kind of did that anywhere in wrestling that I knew of. So if I could perfect this technique, it would be unique to me. So it took a long time, and it took like putting all these building blocks in place and kind of trying to overcome the fear involved. But eventually, I nailed it, and it was kind of my own. So it's kind of been my move for a long time now, maybe 7 years I've been using the Red Arrow.
All right, well, final question here. Everyone knows how Triple H has really taken a lot of the top NXT stars under his wing and brought them up to the main roster with a guide. What is your perception of how Vince McMahon looks at the top NXT stars? Does he look at them the same way Triple H does? And how do you think Vince McMahon looks at you as a top star?
That's hard to say. Vince is Vince is obviously very super busy with the main brand, Raw and SmackDown, and the pay-per-views. So I don't know how much time Vince has to see NXT, honestly. I know that, guys like The Shield and guys like the Wyatts who have come up through NXT and found much success on Raw and SmackDown have certainly paved the way for more movement from NXT to the main roster. I know Vince thinks a lot of those guys. So, it's really hard to say for definite. I don't really know, to be honest.
All right, well, a huge thanks to WWE superstar Neville for coming on the show. We appreciate your time. Catch him stealing the show at Money in the Bank this Sunday on the WWE Network at 8 p.m. Good luck, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.